NC pork, good for the plate, great for the state. Welcome to Bold North State Football Weekly here on the North Carolina Sports Network, where the pigskin meets pride, tradition, and everything in between here in the Bold North State. I am your host, Mike Waddell, and today's guest is no stranger to this show or this audience. He's joining us now for the third straight year, a guy with deep ACC and SEC ties, former Duke and Florida assistant, and now the defensive mastermind behind one of the hottest teams in the European League of Football. We're talking, of course, about the Madrid Bravos. We're talking strategy, culture shock, football growth abroad, and, of course, the Carolina roots that shaped it all for the one, the only Coach Jim Collins, back in the building, coming to us from España over there in the land of European League football. You've been to the Barcelona Open tennis tournament and a bullfight. Jim, how are you taking this Ted Lasso approach to the sport of American football over in the land of the bullfighters?
It's been an interesting and enlightening experience. I never dreamed of spending 5-6 months in Europe and having the opportunities to, as you say, go to a bullfight and go to the Madrid Open tennis tournament and just be in Austria, in Germany, in Hungary, and just all the Switzerland, all the cities and countries that I've been in. It's been quite an experience, to say the least.
And your entire career has been a success and an experience, most recently with Carolina under Mack Brown and at Duke under David Cutcliffe, in the Alliance of American Football with myself and Steve Spurrier and the great Tim Ruskell as our general manager. But now you are in a very different position coaching in Europe. What's it like trying to be an ambassador for a game that has meant so much to you since you were growing up there around Burlington to where you are right now as the defensive coordinator in Madrid, Spain?
Well, the first thing I need to say, Mike, is that we have absolutely wonderful owners here in Madrid. They are just absolutely fantastic. This is only the second year of this franchise. So they were 8-4 last year, and we sit 7-3 right now with 2 regular season games left to play. But the owners of this team, they just do absolutely everything from taking equipment out on the field to water to getting the stadium ready. They do it all, and they're just fantastic people and people that you enjoy being around. And the experience of being here and being around the Spanish players, and I don't know how many people out there know that you're only allowed 4 Americans on a team here.
Right.
It's a 53-man roster. It's 4 Americans, and then you can have 6 European imports from other countries in Europe. So you're allowed 10 imports, and the rest of your team has to be from your home country. So the experience of being around the Spanish players has been absolutely great. They have a great deal of pride in their country and pride in the things that they represent and the families they represent. So it's been quite an experience to be around these players.
I have to ask you before we go too much deeper into this topic, Jim Collins, how do you go from playing golf every day at one of the more beautiful golf courses in all of the Bold North State down outside of Wilmington to being in Madrid, Spain, coaching again? I mean, football has to be an immense part of your absolute being to the core for you to want to go all the way to Europe and to take on this type of a challenge.
Mike, I had the opportunity to exchange text with the Penn State defensive coordinator who's been on our show before, Jim Knowles, and I told Jim. Jim asked me also. He said, "How are you doing? What's up?" And I said, "Jim, the game that we coach is not just a game, it is a disease. And we have this disease, and the disease is called football. There's absolutely no cure for it. And Jim's response to me was that you need to go to a football anonymous meeting and state who you are and what your thoughts are as far as being addicted to this drug that we're addicted to. I told my family before I came over here, I said, careful what you ask for. I said, because they basically talked me into doing this because I had a pretty good life. You know, I did the show with you, as you say. I played golf. I hung out. I had a great life going. I said, but be careful. I said, I know who I am. When I get over here, I said, I don't know anything but work, and when I get here, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to apply myself, and I'm going to work, and I'm going to try to be the best European Football League coach that I can be, and the best piece of the Madrid Bravos I can be. And that's sometimes you don't understand uh, that you be careful what you wish for when you when you're wishing to come to Europe to be a football coach. So it's interesting, and I don't mean to ramble on, but the players here actually, a huge part of them work during the day. So our practices are not until the evening. Our meetings don't start until 6:30, 6:45. Early in training camp, our meetings didn't start sometimes until 8:45 at night. So I was getting back to this apartment, this huge 529 square foot apartment that I live in. I was getting back, and I still get back here at 12:30 at night. So there are long days and short nights, but it's been something that I've had a great time, and hopefully we can get this team in the playoffs and experience a playoff atmosphere here in Madrid.
We are talking with Jim Collins. He is the co-host of our Fall Autumn Spectacular, where we talk about football all across the Bold North State. It's called Bold North State Football Weekly. It comes your way again on the reg here in August on the North Carolina Sports Network. Jim, this summer has been over in Madrid, Spain, as the defensive coordinator of the Madrid Bravos of the European League of Football. So tell me about this league. We all remember the World League of American Football and Roman Gabriel and the Raleigh-Durham Skyhawks, and there was NFL Europe. I remember that. And now European League of Football is a growing ambassadorship, I think, just for the game of American football going over in Europe. What's it been like, and what's the league comprised of? How many teams are they, and where are they?
Well, there are 16 teams in the league at this present time, Mike, and there's going to be some changes coming down the road in the league. There's some franchises that are existing now that probably will not be here a year from now, and the majority of of the teams in the league are in Germany. And what a lot of people don't realize is that pro football has been in Germany for many, many, many years because of the number of Americans that were there in World War II and post World War II in Germany. Football became American football, and you have to be careful how you say football, because in Madrid, Spain, and in Spain, football means a completely different sport. With Barcelona and Madrid and the soccer franchises here. But there are teams in Hungary. I've been to Budapest to play the Hungary team. I've been to Switzerland. I've been to Austria. We're going to Germany this week to play Munich. As I say, there are 6 teams in Germany. A lot of people will recognize this name. Jack Del Rio is the head coach of the Paris franchise, and we're all in a battle. We're 7-3, and we're all battling for playoff spots right now.
It's got to be exciting to be able to take that game overseas. Did you ever watch that show on Apple Plus, Ted Lasso, where the guy who was the football coach goes over to coach soccer? I mean, it's not quite the same thing, but I would assume that you probably haven't spent too much time overseas in your life. So this had to be a big cultural experience for you to go through there, and not only through the sport aspect, but just through general culture.
I had never been to Europe, Mike. I've been to a lot of Caribbean islands and Bermuda and Hawaii, which Hawaii is not is a state, obviously, as we all know, but it seems like it's not. So this was my first time here, and it was a wonderful opportunity that our head coach and the team gave me to come over and do this. And I've had a great experience. I've seen a lot of Europe. We've traveled. My wife was here for almost 2 months, from April 25th to June 25th, and then she went back to Wilmington, and she's actually coming back a week from Tuesday, August 12th, as we wrap things up here. And it's been a wonderful experience. It's one that I would probably and happily do again, because as I said earlier in our conversation, this game is a disease, and it's hard to get it out of your system, and there's no cure for it.
Well, as you have a 53-person roster and you can have four Americans, what position on offense and defense are you looking to have filled with that good old US of A talent?
Well, you have to have an American quarterback. I don't think there's any way that you can win big in this league without an American quarterback, just because, especially here in Spain and Madrid, because the game has not been here quite as long as it's been in Germany and some of the other countries, and France and et cetera. So you have to have an American quarterback. All the successful teams in the league have American quarterbacks, and ours is outstanding. Reed Sennett played at the University of San Diego and has been with four NFL franchises, and has thrown for almost 4,000 yards in this league, and he's absolutely fantastic. And then the other thing that everybody has is an American receiver. When it comes to defense, you would like to have. We have an American corner and an American safety. You have to have an American corner to be able to cover the American receiver at this point in time. So that's a matchup that you look for each and every week, and you try to get that matchup set in your strategy and how you do that. And there's some people that it's easier to do with others. We played the team from Hungary a few weeks ago, and they have an American receiver by the name of John Cole. And they targeted him 40 times in the game. And they threw the ball 50 times, but they threw it to him 40 times in a variety of hitches and quick screens and just all over the place. They actually chased me out of blitzing because we couldn't get there because they were throwing it so damn fast. But we won the game like 61-6, or something like that.
Why'd you give up six, Jim? Come on.
Yeah, pissed me off that we gave up six, but we did.
Looking for real deal local flavor in Wilmington? Head to the Original Saltworks restaurant, run by Bob Hubbard and serving up Southern staples since the 1970s. Hot grits, buttery biscuits, juicy burgers and dogs. It's fast, it's fresh, and it's full of bold North State pride. Open for breakfast and lunch 7 days a week, always starting at 7 a.m. It's the Original Saltworks on Oleander Drive in Wilmington. Need to move to North Carolina, within North Carolina, or away from North Carolina? Whether it's the Triangle, the Triad, or beyond, XL Moving and Storage is the company you can trust. Local, reliable, award-winning, and stress-free, XL's team handles every detail so you don't have to. Get your free quote today at xlms.com. That's EXCELMS.com. And tell them David Glenn sent you.
What are some of the best pregame traditions or in-game traditions that they have in the European stadiums that maybe you haven't seen in all of your years, over 4 decades of coaching on the college and pro level here in the States?
Well, the interesting thing is, and especially in the outside of Spain, with the German teams and the Austrian teams and even the Swiss teams, they have they have a drum in the grandstand or in the stands, and they beat this drum the entire time that your offense is on the field, and they have these horns that they blow the entire time that your offense is on the field, so they create noise that way. It is the most irritating crap that you've ever been through in your life to hear this, especially when they're right behind your bench, as they were a couple of weeks ago when we were in Switzerland. So it's quite irritating, when they're the noise behind you at times. But it's a tradition. We don't do that here in Spain. The wonderful thing is my daughter was here for the last home game. We were open this week, and she filled me in. I didn't realize that the PA announcer at our games actually explains what is going on in the game, and so that the fans get a better understanding of what's going on strategy wise and why the teams are switching, and the pride in your team is very interesting. As I say, I'm repeating myself, but it's been a lot of fun, and it's obviously it's more fun when you win, but we've had some great experiences, to say the least.
Well, heck, some of the rivalries between the towns of the countries over there don't go just back, 100 years like they do in the NFL. They're going back, 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 years, maybe 1,000 years to the Crusades. So there's always seems to be a big beef going on over there. And obviously the sports can be a little different in Madrid than they are in, the middle of Burlington. But I know you got a chance to see something that myself, as a Sun Also Rises fan, one of my favorite works of literature out there, you got a chance to go to a bullfight. What was that like? I hear that it may not be all that it's cracked up to be.
The tradition and the pomp and circumstances of all of it were quite interesting. Yeah, the bullfighting is banned in most of Spain at this time. But we were fortunate to go to a bullfight, and it was scheduled to be 6 bulls the night that we went, but we only stayed for one. It's quite I'm going to use the word violent. It is quite violent for the bull, it was a little bit disturbing, to say the least. But
Right.
the wonderful thing is that the bulls that they do kill at the bullfights, or they take the meat from them, and they distribute it to needy families all across the area. So that's a good part of it. And but it was interesting to watch. But the final part of it is a little bit hard to take, to be honest with you. But I'm glad I experienced it.
Did you ever go cow tipping in Alamance County?
I've been there, done that. Yes.
Yeah, I tell you, you just put a little shoulder in there, like Tommy Boy says.
Yeah,
Little
yeah.
belly 36 on 3-on-3.
Right.
Just get right there between the hock and the ribs, and you can get that sucker to turn over. But hey, man, we're talking with Jim Collins here on Bold North State Football Weekly. He'll be joining us again this fall, the third year with us here on the North Carolina Sports Network. I'm Mike Waddell, and Jim, man, it's going to be another exciting college football season here in the state of North Carolina. New coach
Right.
at East Carolina, a new coach at Wake Forest, a new coach at Charlotte, a new coach at Appalachian State, a new coach at the University of North Carolina only, NC State's Dave Dorn, and Manny Diaz at Duke, the returning state champion Blue Devils. have
Yeah.
returning head coaches in this state. And I tell you, it's hard to really put into context how much of a changeover there is right now just in rosters due to the transfer portal. But now you add in these new coaches, and like you've gone through this year with your staff there in Madrid, it's a major undertaking to be able to develop team chemistry and on-field synchronicity in such a short amount of time. Sometimes I think, Coach, the general public doesn't really put a lot of stock into that.
Well, I think you learn that it's very difficult. The chemistry of the team is so important, and the building of that chemistry is done over a period of time, and that's not something that happens overnight. We were fortunate that a few of our players here in Madrid had played together through, what a lot of people don't realize about European football. They basically play American football the year round here in Spain. They have all these leagues. They have a Spanish league. They have local teams. So these guys have played together on different teams for a long time. But I find it interesting. We go back a couple of years when Deion Sanders took over, Coach Prime took over at Colorado, and for a period of time, he was highly criticized for the number of players that he took in the transfer portal and the changes that he made. I think he set a record with like 68 roster changes, which has since been broken by our North Carolina coach, Bill Belichick, with 70. He's taken, and last I heard, he had taken 40 new players since the end of spring practice. So their summer workouts were really important for that team to grow together, and their preseason is going to be quite important also.
To me, the quarterback position obviously is always very important. Being a line guy, I think the key to winning football is in your offensive and defensive lines. But let's just talk quarterback right here on Tobacco Road. At Duke, they're the defending state champions. Manny Diaz's second edition of Blue Devils over at Wallace Wade Stadium. But they have Darian Mensah coming in from Tulane, and this is a really good quarterback. He's among the top 5 highest paid people on campus at Duke, even though they're not employees. But he's going to make more than the actual president of Duke University this year. So that's something. He's already got that going. But you got to really feel like, and I think the ACC media has already picked Duke to be the best out of the Big Four this coming season. But why wouldn't you? I mean, Duke has a great quarterback, and they have a team that has been together for the most part over the last 3 years. Pretty stable roster for Manny Diaz, and even in the last year with Mike Elko.
Well, I tell you that the interesting thing again is when you look, and I don't know much about Wake Forest right now. I don't know what they've done as far as building through the portal and doing those things. I know this. I know North Carolina has completely reshaped their roster. NC State has been somewhat busy, but not nearly as busy as Carolina has been. And I think probably as you just stated, that Duke is probably the most stable team in the area. The team that I'm going to follow closely is Appalachian State.
No doubt.
With the things that they've done with their new head coach and the experience that he's brought to the coaching staff up there. When you start talking about Clyde Christensen as the offensive coordinator, the assistant head coach, Bob Sanders, who we worked with at the Apollos, that was in the NFL for 20 years, Kevin Higgins, who has been around college and pro football forever. He's got quality guys on that staff now, and they will be well prepared and well coached. Now, if they've been able to hold on to the roster, hell, I don't know that.
Right.
Because it takes money. It takes money to be able to do that, and who knows, in the climate that we're entering into right now, with the sharing of the monies and the $20 million out there that they can now pay players through the university, not counting NIL money. Who knows? Who knows who's going to be good and not be good to stay in town?
When you look at the position of quarterback, Duke, let me edit that. When you look at the position of quarterback, though, Duke does have a returning veteran, even though he's not a veteran to Duke. and Darian Mensah. NC State has C.J. Bailey, and the thing that struck me so much about him, Coach Collins, when I saw him at the ACC football kickoff, is how darn tall and skinny he is. I mean, C.J. Bailey looks like he should be playing for Will Wade over on the basketball team. The kid's 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". I mean, he is skinny though. But this seems to be a model for what people are looking at in a quarterback right now, as opposed to North Carolina that has Bryce Baker, who was playing high school football last year this time, came in though for spring practice. They have Gio Lopez, who transferred in from South Alabama, who's never even taken a snap on Carolina's campus before they had fall practice and opening days. I mean, he is brand new, and he's a lefty. And then you have Max Johnson, who got hurt in the opener last year up in Minneapolis against the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. He missed all of last year. He's back, but he already doesn't have much of an arm. So right now, as you just look at the position of quarterback for North Carolina, if you're a defensive coordinator and you've got to attack the Tar Heels, who do you game plan for, number one? Are you looking at game tape from South Alabama, to get ready for Gio Lopez? And then I guess you got to put some kind of stock together that this group has never worked together with any of these offensive linemen. I think it is an incredibly tall order for Bill Belichick and his coaching staff, Freddie Kitchens, the offensive coordinator, to cobble any type of a working offensive unit together in time for that TCU game on Labor Day Monday. Jim, that is a very tall order, and I think a lot of Carolina fans just see a Super Bowl winning head coach a couple times over and say, hey, everything's going to be okay, but Bill Belichick is not going to be playing a down of football out there, and he cannot throw, he cannot block, he cannot tackle, and he cannot run at his age of 73. I mean, this is a very challenged task in front of the veteran head coach.
Well, I'll say this, Mike. The kid from Gio Lopez from South Alabama, he's probably had more reps this summer, not in pads, but his reps that he's taken this summer, I can almost guarantee you that he is deep into the playbook and understands the playbook and has thrown almost every route and handed off almost every running play, because you have access to these players all summer long, and you can do installs, you can meet with them, so I can assure you that coaching staff has been with the offense, and they will be up to speed pretty quick, and they got good coaches on that staff. They'll be of high quality, but I think it's still interesting to be able to blend and get the chemistry in the right place and grow the chemistry of your team within the locker room. So that'll be interesting to see as they begin the season. If I'm not mistaken, they open on with a national TV game against TCU at North Carolina.
That's right, Labor Day Monday. Looking over at NC State, though, they are the only team out of the Triangle Big Four squads that have a returning quarterback coming back in C.J. Bailey. The last 2 years, they've been trying to get their NIL buddies from Coastal Carolina and UVA up to speed, but it was usually 3 to 4 weeks into the season before the Wolfpack was going back to the sidelines and looking for a new signal caller. Bailey is the unequivocal QB1 for the red and white of NC State. How much of that is an advantage for Dave Doran and his new offensive coordinator, who you know very well, to be able to take that forward and attack this 2025 season with a lot of intent?
Well, Mike, it's always an advantage to have an experienced quarterback, one that's been in your system and one that understands and has a relationship with his position coach, has a relationship with the players that he's meeting with and the players that he's guiding. So it's a huge advantage to have an experienced quarterback. And as you know from our discussions in past years, I like C.J. Bailey. I think he is a really, really talented athlete with a talented arm, and he has running ability also, which in today's game you have to have a quarterback that can that has escapability, and he does have that. I think they if they can get better on defense and play better on defense than they did a year ago, I think Kurt Loper is an outstanding offensive coordinator and will do a great job for them there. I don't know what else they have coming back around him, how many starters they have returning, but to start with a quality quarterback is extremely important.
What kind of impact does it have on an offense when you have two quarterbacks who are left-handed quarterbacks and one quarterback who is right-handed? Does that make any difference for the guys on the offensive line when you change quarterbacks and they go from a righty to a lefty? Does that mean that your left tackle has to go to right and vice versa across the line?
No, you don't swap the offensive line, but it is different now, even in preparation. As a defensive coach, I've always wanted, when we were preparing for a left-handed quarterback, I always wished we had somebody on the scout team that was left-handed.
Right.
Because the ball does come out in different ways, and they may favor a different side of the field, etc. So I've actually never been on, in my entire career, if I remember this correctly, I've never been on a team that our primary quarterback was a left-hander.
Really? I thought one of those big Duke quarterbacks back in the day was a lefty.
No, we've never had a lefty. No.
Wow. That's something else. And there haven't been a lot of great left-handed quarterbacks, but who are some of the best lefty QBs of all time that you can remember?
Well, Kenny Stabler is the first one that comes to mind.
The Snake.
Yeah, the Snake with the Raiders. And I guess the reason I remembered that is I just saw a big article on the Raiders the other day, and it brought up Kenny's name off of it. You caught me with a question off guard a little bit. Help me with this. I remember playing at the University of Florida. We played Kentucky, and they had the big guy Jared Lorenzen.
I loved him, and
Yeah.
he was a sensation in arena football for a
Yeah.
while before his way too early death a couple of years ago. But he was kind of like the Charles Barkley of being a college quarterback.
Yeah, he was. He was, but when you think about it, I mean, help me. I can't think of another outstanding lefty quarterback. Yes, hold on.
The Garcia kid that was in the AAF was the lefty
Yeah.
quarterback, the kid that played at Birmingham, but you shut him down like he was the back door. So,
Steve Young.
yep, Steve Young,
Steve
absolutely,
Young.
BYU.
Steve Young was a BYU and a great NFL quarterback. Started with Tampa and obviously split time with Joe Montana at the 49ers. I think won the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken with that. But there's not been an abundance of them, without a doubt.
North Carolina Pork is making a difference from family farms to your family table. With more than 46,000 jobs supported and $11 billion plus added to our economy, the pork industry plays a vital role in our communities. It's a legacy built on hard work, innovation, and a whole lot of flavor. From juicy chops to barbecue that brings people together, pork is more than a meal, it's a mission. North Carolina Pork, raising the bacon, raising the bar. To learn more, visit ncpork.org. Good for the plate, great for the state. Hey folks, David Glenn here. Game day just got easier thanks to NC by Train. Whether you're headed to Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham, or Greensboro, skip the traffic and enjoy the ride. You get free Wi-Fi, comfy seats, and direct access to top sports towns, all at great prices. Learn more at ncbytrain.org and travel smarter to your next game. NC by Train. Go Connect.
Jim, this past weekend in Canton, Ohio, the Pro Football Hall of Fame inducted their 2025 class. But in 2024, when Bailey's Julius Peppers went into the Gold Jacket Club there in Stark County, man, that was a proud day for the state of North Carolina. Earlier this summer, when David Glenn and I had the North Carolina Sports Awards, the Pineys, here on the North Carolina Sports Network. We presented the moment of the year to Julius Peppers. And when I was going back doing some of the post-production for that episode, I had a chance to watch some of his games in high school when he was a running back. And then some of the highlights from his time at North Carolina where he was scoring on offense and defense. I mean, the guy was doing it all. Very limited offensive time, but he had some. And just the amount of impact he had on the game. And then for the Panthers and the Packers and the Bears in the National Football League. I mean, this guy from high school to college to pro could be, you can make an argument for Julius Peppers to be the greatest homegrown, home playing athlete in the history of sports here in the Bold North State. How, in your estimation, as a defensive mastermind, when you look at the body of work from Julius Peppers, do you say, wow, this was a guy, this was a stud? And how early do you think people could recognize that type of generational, if not once in a lifetime talent?
You know, Mike, I have an interesting sideline on that. Is when Julius was coming out of high school, we were at the University of Florida, and we spot recruited North Carolina and took some players out of North Carolina. Well, guess what? We tried our ass off to get Julius Peppers to come to the University of Florida. Because it was obvious that at that point in time that he was an outstanding athlete. And what a lot of people don't understand, Mike, is that when you start dealing with Hall of Fame talent stands out, man. I mean, they separate themselves very quickly from other athletes. And there's a huge drop off between a Hall of Fame pro football player, a Pro Bowl football player, an All-Pro football player, and a starter. And then for a backup, I mean, the drop-off is unbelievable. I mean, when you take a guy, and I had the good fortune to be around the Champ Baileys, the Bruce Smiths, the Hall of Fame guys up one side, down the other, and they're just so special. It's unreal. I get chill bumps right now thinking about the level of ability that those guys have, and the fact that Julius was such an outstanding college dual athlete. He may be one of the best dual athletes that have ever come along in both sports. And I saw an article the other day that listed the top 10 dual athletes that have ever played sports. And obviously one of them was Deion Sanders and Winfield, and it went through all of them. But Julius Peppers should have been on it.
Dude, he was something else. And I tell you something else that's coming up here in the fall, and the state of North Carolina will be our first week of games. We talked about North Carolina and TCU, but the game of the week, and it involves our dear friend Ruffin McNeil, who is now special assistant to the head coach Dave Doran at NC State, will be that bowl game rematch, that Eastern North Carolina clash that people look forward to every time this game is played. We're talking about the East Carolina Pirates and the North Carolina State Wolfpack. And Dave Doran, I don't know if this made the Madrid newspapers over there, as you're in Madrid, Spain, Jim Collins, but Dave Doran was fairly outspoken, very demonstrative, and to the point in saying he didn't just want to beat East Carolina, he wanted to kick their ass. So the head coach of the Wolfpack, coming right out of the chutes in week number 1, is getting it going with his in-state rival. And Blake Harrell, it's his first game as the regular season head coach of the East Carolina Pirates. This has the opportunity to get things going in the Bold North State with football after a fall of 2024 that was just bleh. I mean, it was just like, outside of a few of our Division II and Division III teams, this was a bad year for college football if you weren't a Duke Blue Devil. So, wow, this could be a fun one right out of the chutes, partner.
Where are they playing? Are they playing at State or at
that would be at Carter Finley Stadium
Okay.
Absolutely. They're going to get it going over there with the red and white, open it up there on a Thursday night before Labor Day weekend. So I could imagine that there might be a few cocktails flowing in the parking lot, probably about 6 a.m. What do you think?
Well, if I'm back in the States, maybe we'll take that one in, Mike.
Ah, we will.
Yeah, and there's a chance I could be back by then if we our last regular season game is August 17th, and then they give us a week to wrap things up before we come back. But if we make the playoffs, we could play August 24th. So it's a little bit up in the air when I'll be back. But I need to get my wife, who's coming over here in another 7-8 days. I need to get her to bring the Phil Steele magazine or one of the magazines so I can read up on these teams. I've been so busy that I don't know who has what coming back at this point in time.
Well, you need to get Yvonne to go ahead and get you that Feel Still magazine and get it already. I used to love, man, you remember when we were young and we used to get those Athlons and Street and Smiths magazines? Man, you couldn't wait to get that out and see where your team was picked. And now it's just a click of the mouse. It doesn't have the same romance as it did back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I guess.
Well, I showed my age, didn't I, when I said I need to get the magazine rather than going online and reading about it. But I just haven't had time. It's just like with these days off, Yvonne's been encouraging me from across the pond to get out and do something. And I've watched a lot of video here by myself the last few days, and as I say, my daughter and granddaughter were here with me last week. So I've been to Barcelona, I've been to Sevilla, I've been to Avila, I've been to all the things here. But the most unbelievable thing about this is the Gothic cathedrals that are in this country that are 1,000 years old, built in the 14th and 15th century, and it's just Spain is an amazing country. It really is.
Well, that is the voice, friends and neighbors, of the greatest American defensive mind to hit the country of Germany since the 1940s. We're talking about the defensive coordinator of the Madrid Bravos of the European League of Football and the co-host of this show, Bold North State Football Weekly, the coach, Jim Collins, as the Bravos are headed into Deutschland for the last 2 regular season games of the European League of Football, where those games are going to be played and how can folks watch them. I'll go ahead and break that for everybody. It's on DAZN. If you go ahead and get a subscription, you can watch Jim and his masterminds from Madrid go in there and tear through Germany just like Patton did. I tell you, I see you and George S. Patton. I think you might need to be wearing that chrome helmet over there on the sidelines next weekend.
Well, the interesting thing is we play the Munich Ravens, who are 9-1 at this point in time, and their quarterback is a young man by the name of Russell Tabor. Russell Tabor was a walk-on at the University of North Carolina. If I'm correct, never played a down of college football. But he came over to Spain 2 years ago and played on a Spanish league team and had great success and has had an outstanding year for the Munich Ravens. Is completing like 60% of his passes and has had an outstanding year. And he's difficult to keep in the pocket. Scrambles around a lot, makes a lot of good throws. But a good player and a former Tar Heel.
Well, good luck to you and the Bravos as you close out the regular season in the European League of Football and on into the playoffs. We look forward to having you back stateside for another great season of talking football here in the Bold North State on this new show, Bold North State Football Weekly. Jim Collins, thanks a lot for being our first international guest here on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Mike, thanks for having me and miss you guys. Look forward to getting back and getting tied back into college football in the Bold North State.
NC Pork, raising the bacon, raising the bar.